When they learned that Xiao Yan intended to face two Earth Supremes by himself, Yin Yang Ancestor and the others were immediately stunned. Soon after, they all declared that they would fight alongside him. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, please consider supporting us through the donation. It really motivates us to keep creating. The story continues from before. High above the distant sky, Yin Yang Ancestor and the others stared at Xiao Yan with stunned expressions, their eyes filled with disbelief. The power Xiao Yan had just unleashed had completely exceeded their expectations. The terrifying flames that devoured the heavens moments ago were enough to make even veteran Supreme Realm experts feel a chill in their hearts. More importantly, his attack on Zidiao had already made one thing perfectly clear. Xiao Yan truly intended to confront the entire Xuanling Hall. "Where is Zidiao?" Heavenly Fire Venerable suddenly asked in a deep voice. His sharp gaze swept across the vast sky again and again, searching for Zidiao's presence among the chaotic fluctuations of energy. But no matter how carefully he looked, Zidiao's figure was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, the gigantic fireball burning across the heavens began to slowly shrink. The terrifying flames gradually faded, revealing a region of space that had been completely melted by the explosion. The void there looked as if it had been eaten away, forming a massive spatial cavity, a dark and twisted hole in the sky. Yet Xiao Yan did not even glance at the devastated void. His eyes were already fixed on another location 10,000 feet away. His gaze was calm but extremely sharp. Soon the space in that distant area began to distort slowly, like ripples spreading across water. Then, 4 figures gradually emerged from the warped space. The moment everyone saw them clearly, the crowd's expressions changed. Those figures were none other than Zidiao and the 3 elders of Xuanling Hall. It was obvious that at the final moment of the explosion, they had forcefully escaped the devastating range of the heaven-shattering blast. Even so, the surrounding experts could not hide their shock. Escaping such a catastrophic explosion alone would already be extremely difficult. Yet Zidiao had actually managed to bring 3 elders with him while escaping the inferno. Just as everyone was still stunned by this incredible feat, the space behind Zidiao suddenly rippled once more. A strange fluctuation spread through the air. Then from the twisting void, a black-robed figure slowly stepped out. The newcomer moved calmly, yet the moment he appeared, the surrounding atmosphere seemed to grow heavier. It was an elderly man with long crimson hair flowing behind his back like burning flames. His aged face carried a cold, indifferent expression, but the aura emanating from his body was far more terrifying than Zidiao's. In the perception of experts like Yin Yang Ancestor, who had already stepped into the half-step Earth Supreme Realm, the pressure radiating from this red-haired elder was shockingly powerful. It had already approached the level of a mid-stage Earth Supreme. At that moment, even the wind in the sky seemed to grow still. The aura emanating from his body was far more terrifying than that of Zidiao. Even from a distance, the pressure rolling off the old man felt like an invisible mountain pressing down upon the surrounding sky. In the perception of experts like Yin Yang Ancestor, who stood at the half-step Earth Supreme level, the aura of this black-robed elder had already reached a shocking level. It was extremely close to the mid-stage, Earth Supreme Realm. Such strength was enough to make even seasoned Supremes feel uneasy. "Who is that?" The sacred matriarch could not help but ask in shock as she stared at the newly appeared figure. Her wrinkled face was filled with disbelief. When did Xuanling Hall gain such a terrifying expert? Around them, several powerful figures also frowned, their expressions turning increasingly grave. This sudden appearance had clearly disrupted all their expectations. At the same moment, Xiao Yan was also staring intently at the 5 figures in the distance. His gaze was calm yet solemn. Among those 5 people, his attention was particularly fixed on the red-haired elder standing behind Zidiao. The aura radiating from that man was unusually oppressive. A faint flash of realization passed through Xiao Yan's eyes. No wonder Zidiao had been acting so calm from the beginning. So this was the reason. He had invited such a powerful guardian to back him up. At that moment, the red-haired elder slowly stepped forward. His figure blurred slightly as he flashed through the air, instantly appearing in front of Ji Diao. He glanced lazily toward Xiaoyan before speaking in a slightly hoarse voice. "So, this youngster is the lower plane shackles breaker you mentioned." Shijiao nodded without hesitation. Yes, the red-haired elder narrowed his eyes as he examined Xiaoyan from head to toe. A faint hint of interest appeared on his aged face. "To deal with this kid," he said slowly, "you were actually willing to spend 5 million supreme spiritual liquid and even promised to do one thing for me, just to invite me here." His tone carried a trace of amusement. Clearly, even he found the price Ji Diao had paid to be rather extravagant. Ji Diao's expression, however, remained cold and gloomy. The humiliation suffered by Xuanling Hall hundreds of years ago, he said slowly, his voice filled with resentment, must never be repeated. Hearing those words, several people nearby immediately sensed the deep hatred hidden within them. Ji Diao continued in a low voice, "Hundreds of years ago, my great-grandfather once injured a mysterious woman whose identity was unknown. But shortly afterward, he was killed by a powerful expert who came from a lower plane. Soon after, he was killed by a powerful expert who came from a lower plane. The incident shocked the entire Xuanling Hall. However, in order to prevent panic from spreading across their territory and to maintain their reputation, Xuanling Hall quickly fabricated a different explanation. They announced to the outside world that the Hall Master of Xuanling Hall had unfortunately died while attempting to break through to the Earth's supreme realm. The truth behind the event was carefully buried. Only a handful of high-ranking members knew what had really happened. Several decades later, when Xuanling Hall gradually recovered its strength and once again reached its peak state, they secretly began searching for the mysterious lower plane expert who had killed their former Hall Master. Revenge was inevitable. At least, that was what they had believed. However, not long after the investigation began, they received a piece of news that completely shattered their plans. It was a terrifying revelation. That lower plane expert had already joined a powerful organization formed by experts from various lower planes. Within that alliance, he had risen to a prominent position, becoming one of the 4 great elders directly beneath the alliance leader. And that alliance was none other than the Guardian World Alliance, a massive force that stood among the 7 great lower plane alliances. Its reputation was famous throughout the Great Thousand World. Rumors claimed that within the Guardian World Alliance existed 3 genuine Heaven Supreme's true peak experts capable of shaking entire regions with a single move. For a force like Xuanling Hall, such an existence was simply untouchable. Even if they were given 100 times the courage, they would never dare provoke a power of that magnitude. Thus, the revenge that Xuanling Hall had once sworn to take was quietly abandoned. The matter was buried once again, becoming a secret no one dared to mention openly. However, what none of the people of Xuanling Hall had expected was that hundreds of years later, another powerful expert from a lower plane would appear before them. And just like before, he had come directly to challenge Xuanling Hall itself. The old humiliation that had once been forced upon them had already left a deep scar. There was absolutely no way they would allow the same humiliation to occur a second time. Moreover, the poison body that Ji Diao had originally planned to obtain from Ye Rong had already been sealed by a strange and mysterious seal placed by Xiaoyan. No matter what methods Ji Diao tried afterward, he found that he had absolutely no way to break that seal. It was as if the seal contained an unfathomable power that completely suppressed the poison body within Ye Rong. This matter alone had already filled Ji Diao with fury. Combined with the humiliation from the past and Xiaoyan's current provocation, all these reasons gradually ignited a cold and overwhelming killing intent within Ji Diao toward Xiaoyan. Thus, in order to eliminate Xiaoyan once and for all, Ji Diao did not hesitate to pay an enormous price. He spared no cost and personally invited an elder from one of the hegemonic forces of the Ruins continent. And the name of that terrifying hegemonic force was known almost everywhere throughout the Ruins continent. It was the ancient royal court. High in mid-air, Zhi Diao slowly turned his gaze toward Xiao Yan. A cold sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Huh, do you still think you can destroy Xuanling Hall now?" His voice echoed through the sky with undisguised mockery. At this moment, the situation on the battlefield had completely changed. Even if Yin-Yang Ancestor and the others were capable of holding back the Heavenly King Hall from the Eight King domain, Xiao Yan still had to face a terrifying threat. Because standing before him now were two Earth Supreme experts. The expressions of Yin-Yang Ancestor and the others gradually turned extremely serious. Their brows were tightly furrowed. The development of the situation had already far exceeded their expectations. Originally, they had believed Xiao Yan only needed to confront the forces of Xuanling Hall. But now, the enemy side possessed three Earth Supreme experts, including the terrifying red-haired elder who had just appeared. The pressure this lineup created was enough to make anyone feel suffocated. Meanwhile, on Xiao Yan's side, there was only one true Earth Supreme, and that person was Xiao Yan himself. No wonder the Hall Master of the Heavenly King Hall had chosen to stand on the side of Xuanling Hall. When the strength of both sides was placed side by side, the answer was obvious. The difference in power between the two camps was simply too great. Anyone with clear judgment could easily see which side held the overwhelming advantage. Amid the tense standoff in the sky, Xiao Yan slowly lifted his gaze and looked toward the red-haired elder. The old man's aura was heavy and oppressive, like a silent mountain pressing against the heavens. However, Xiao Yan's expression remained calm. The next moment, he gently waved his sleeve. With a ripple of spatial energy, the prison that had been sealing countless people instantly shattered. Thousands of imprisoned figures were suddenly released into the open sky. For a moment, the air was filled with shocked voices and chaotic movements. Among those released were several young men, along with Ye Tianlian and the others. When they saw Xiao Yan standing in the sky, their faces immediately filled with overwhelming joy. To them, Xiao Yan's appearance was like a miracle. However, before they could even speak words of gratitude, Xiao Yan's cold and decisive voice suddenly rang in their ears. "Leave this place. The farther you go, the better." The words were short, but carried unquestionable authority. Ye Tianlian and the others were momentarily stunned. They had clearly sensed the seriousness in Xiao Yan's tone. The young men exchanged glances before gritting their teeth, understanding the situation instantly. They waved toward the people of Yuande sect, signaling everyone to retreat. They all knew what Xiao Yan was planning next. A life-and-death battle with Xuanling Hall was about to erupt. If they stayed behind, they would only become a burden. "Let's go." Ye Tianlian nodded decisively. She grabbed the reluctant Ye Rong with one hand while supporting the heavily injured sect master of Yuande sect with the other. Without wasting another second, their group immediately turned and flew toward the outer mountain ranges. Quickly leaving the center of the battlefield, their figures soon disappeared into the distant sky. Only after confirming that they had safely retreated did Xiao Yan slowly let out a deep breath. Then his gaze sharpened. His eyes locked onto Zhi Diao and the other four figures standing across from him. At the same time, Xiao Yan quietly transmitted his voice to Yin-Yang Ancestor and the others nearby. "What do you all think now?" Hearing his words, Yin-Yang Ancestor was slightly taken aback. Clearly, he had not expected Xiao Yan to ask for their opinion at this moment. For a brief moment, the old expert's eyes flickered with surprise. Then Yin-Yang Ancestor exchanged glances with the others beside him. For a brief moment, silent understanding passed between them. Soon after, they all nodded at the same time. Without hesitation, the group swiftly moved through the air and arrived beside Xiao Yan, standing shoulder to shoulder with him in the sky. Yin-Yang Ancestor slowly spoke, his voice calm but firm. "Although you are a powerful expert from a lower plane, you originally had no obligation to involve yourself in the affairs of this place." He paused slightly before continuing. "But since you have already stepped into the heavenly domain and chosen to intervene," the old man's gaze towards Xiao Yan carried a hint of admiration. Now that Xuanling Hall openly intends to eliminate one of the 8 kings, we naturally cannot sit by and watch without doing anything. As his words fell, another voice soon followed. Heavenly Fire, Venerable of Fire King. Cave stepped forward slightly and said in a deep voice, "My Fire King Cave shares the same opinion as Yin-Yang Ancestor." Immediately after, the sacred matriarch of Sacred King Mountain also spoke slowly. This old woman cannot simply stand aside either. Her voice was aged, but her tone carried unquestionable determination. Seeing these 3 major forces take a stance, the other experts nearby exchanged glances with one another. A moment later, several of them also nodded. "We have already offended Xuanling Hall by showing ourselves earlier," one of them said with a bitter smile. "At this point, there is no turning back. The Spirit King Mansion will also join forces with you." For a moment, the atmosphere in the sky became filled with a subtle yet powerful sense of unity. Xiao Yan silently looked at the people standing before him. These were all powerful experts who could dominate an entire region. Yet now they had all chosen to stand on the same side. After a brief pause, Xiao Yan slowly raised his hand. His finger pointed toward a distant mountain peak. Standing there was a figure radiating immense pressure, the Hall Master of the Heavenly King Hall. Xiao Yan's calm voice soon echoed across the sky. "Stop him. With your strength, you should be able to do it." Hearing this, Yin-Yang Ancestor and the others were momentarily stunned. They had not expected Xiao Yan to assign them such a task. After all, he was asking them to hold back a true Earth Supreme. Even for experts like them, such a challenge was far from simple. A true Earth Supreme possessed terrifying power, capable of crushing ordinary Supreme Realm experts. For a brief moment, hesitation flashed across their faces. However, Xiao Yan seemed to have already anticipated their reaction. He spoke calmly. "Don't worry. I have my own method." His tone was steady and confident, as if everything was already under his control. Seeing their hesitation, Xiao Yan added in a low voice, "And the 3 people from Xuanling Hall might also move against you." Hearing this, the expressions of the group gradually hardened. If the battle truly erupted, there was no avoiding it anymore. Soon the experts began to divide their targets without further hesitation. "I'll deal with the first elder of Xuanling Hall." One of them spoke decisively. "Then the second elder will be mine." Another immediately followed. "The third elder can be left to me. As for the most troublesome opponent, the Hall Master of the Heavenly King Hall, we will stop him." Those words came from Yin-Yang Ancestor, Sacred Matriarch, and Wu Xuan. These 3 were all late-stage 9th-grade Supremes. Their auras were powerful and steady, like ancient mountains standing firm against the storm. If the 3 of them joined forces, they were fully capable of contending with an Earth Supreme, at least for a period of time. Across the surrounding mountain ranges, countless spectators were already staring at the sky with burning excitement. Many of them had held their breath without realizing it. They all knew that something extraordinary was about to happen. The atmosphere was tense, heavy with anticipation. It seemed that what was about to erupt next would be a truly earth-shaking battle, a clash between supreme experts. Among them were 4 Earth Supremes. Such a battle was rarely seen even in the vast Great Thousand World. When it finally erupted, the heavens and earth themselves would tremble. High in the sky, Xiao Yan slowly lifted his head. His eyes burned with a fierce and unwavering light. Since that's the case, under the watchful gaze of countless spectators, a terrifying surge of spiritual power suddenly burst forth from Xiao Yan's body. Endless destructive flames roared out like a volcanic eruption, spreading across the sky. The temperature between heaven and earth began to rise rapidly. Even the clouds above seemed to be scorched by the blazing aura. Then, Xiao Yan's cold and resolute voice resounded across the entire battlefield like thunder. "Then let Xuanling Hall disappear completely." If you loved this story, please consider supporting us through the donation link below. Your support allows us to keep bringing you the best and most immersive video. We truly appreciate you being here with us.